going crazy. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Okay, we will do the interview questions and then maybe we'll be able to do a live lesson tomorrow. Isn't that the thing with technology? It's brilliant when it works and it's terrible when it doesn't. So, all right. So last week we did interview questions and I think we finished up. No, thank you. Thank you. We finished up talking about strengths and weaknesses. So the next question we were going to look at was, what are your previous achievements? So it means, what have you achieved at work in the past? Okay, so what are your previous achievements is the question we're looking at, and it means, what have you achieved at work in the past? So, at work in the past. Okay, so that's what it means. So you can have this question prepared before you go to the interview, because obviously you know what you have achieved in the past, you know what you have done, so you can have this question ready to go and you can practice it so that you're ready during the interview. And it's about, you know, things that you have done, things that you have achieved on your own at work that has been your own project or something you have been put in charge of. Even if it's something small, but the thing that you have had to do yourself. So first of all, you have to think about what the issue was. Okay, so was it in marketing or in finance or with your sales team? Was it something to do with a product? So whatever the problem was within the workplace, okay? And then you have to explain that to, so you need to be quite concise. You know, they don't want a long story. They just want to know what the problem was and what you did about it and what the outcome was, so what the result was, okay? So, for example, if you had a problem, the problem could be you had a problem with your marketing budget. So either they spent the money badly on, you know, they weren't getting the money back, so they did a bad marketing campaign which didn't make the money for the company, so it was all money going out and didn't bring anything back in. Or they released a new product and the product wasn't very good, and so they lost a lot of customers, for example. Okay, so these are all different problems that you could have. Maybe you had a bonus structure and it was out of date and it wasn't motivating your staff to work towards a bonus. So people weren't really trying to do anything. Okay, so first of all, these could be the type of problems that you're thinking of. Okay, so you identify this problem and you explain it. So, for example, the company spent a lot of money on a marketing budget and they didn't target the right people. So they did all this marketing for a product and they didn't market it to the correct audience, the right people. So then you talk about what you did about this problem. Okay, so maybe you found a new way of marketing, you found the correct audience, maybe you carried out a survey to find out who the audience were, who your customers were. Okay, if it was to do with a faulty product or a bad product, maybe you stopped selling that product and you said, right, we're not going to sell this product anymore because we are losing customers. Maybe we should put the old product back on and sell it cheaper. Okay, so this was the idea that you had. Okay, and then the outcome could be that you reduced the marketing and advertising costs because you went to the right people. You identified the right customers. So you found the customers and you targeted just them, which meant you didn't have to advertise to all these wrong people and spend lots and lots of money on advertising to too many people that weren't going to buy the product. Okay, so you saved the company money. Or you produced a better product if it was poor quality. So you basically, your future boss, let's say, the person interviewing wants to know what the problem was. So the problem was you worked for a company, they spent too much money on marketing, and that money they spent did not advertise to the right people. So they advertised to thousands of people who weren't really interested in the product. So they didn't get the money back. So you identified this problem. You then found out who the right people were, so who your customers would be, and you released a new marketing campaign which went just to those people. So you were just advertising to the specific group of people who would be interested in your product. So you spent less money on marketing and saved your company money and sold more products. Okay, so you identify the problem, you talk about what your plan was, and then what the results were. Okay, and it can be anything, you know, it doesn't have to be within business. It could be, you know, I don't know, if you're working in a cafe, for example, and maybe the cafe where you work, they kept making this same food, and half of the food wasn't getting sold, you know, and you looked at what people, and you found out what your customers wanted, so maybe you asked the customers what they would like, and then you changed the menu and you sold more food. Okay, so it doesn't have to be on a business scale, it can be on, and it can be anything, you know, it can be wherever you worked, whatever you've done, you can make it relate to the next job. They just want to know that you are able to see a problem and create a plan to solve that problem and get a result. So don't think just because it's not on the same line of business as the job you're going to, don't think that it won't relate. They want somebody who can use their, you know, their initiative, use their brain and solve a problem. So just think about what you have done, where you work currently, or where you were working, and how it worked for that business. Okay. Okay. Another one. Oh, here's one which is always difficult to answer. How do you handle difficult situations? So it could be, I don't know, maybe somebody in your, if you're running a team, maybe they're not working particularly well, or they're not doing their job properly, or maybe they're always taking time. Oh, sorry, my phone charges in and it makes it wobbly. Maybe they are always taking time off, so they are always late, or they're always absent from work. So how do you deal with that problem? Or that we often use the, I don't know if you know the excuse me. We often say to how to handle a problem. Okay. Ooh. Again, if anyone has any questions, if you have any questions, or if I'm speaking too quickly, or you don't understand something, please just ask and just stop me whenever you like. It's no problem. Okay. So again, they're looking for somebody who is able to solve a problem. They want somebody who's able to think for themselves and identify the problem and solve it. So again, you have to decide. Good. You have to decide what the problem is, and then try and, so you say how you realise what the problem was, and then explain how you solved the situation. So, you know, this person was always late, or this person wasn't achieving their targets at work. So maybe you saw that this was happening, and instead of having to go and get your boss to deal with the situation, maybe you spoke to the person yourself, identified what the problem was, found out if they had a problem at work, and you helped them achieve their goals by sorting it out between you rather than having to go to the boss. Because the people that you are working for want to see that you can take on responsibility yourself, so that you're taking work away from them. You know, they don't want to have to deal with all these problems. They want somebody who will deal with the problems for them. Okay, and this comes into the same as how do you use your initiative at work? And they might ask you, excuse me, to tell you about a time when you did. Excuse me. Makes my throat so tickly. So they might say, can you tell me a time Okay, so they want to know what you see as using your initiative, so what you think that involves. So, you know, initiative means thinking for yourself and solving your own problems. So seeing a problem and dealing with it, you know, solving it, not having to ask for help. So, you know, if the boss isn't there and there's a problem, that you can sort out this problem on your own, and you don't have to ask for help, or you don't wait until the boss comes back to find the answer. Okay, so you know, it can be anything. It can be just improving something that needs improving at work. It can be, you know, as you said, the boss is on holiday and something goes wrong, and you find the answer to the problem yourself. Or if there's just something when you come into a new workplace and you think, oh, why did they do it like that? It would be better if they did it like this. And you use your initiative to do that. So, for example, the example of this would be, maybe you start working for this company and you're there for 6 months, a year, and you think, oh, I don't know, it's quite a nice place, but everyone, all the staff are friendly, but nobody remembers when it's somebody's birthday. So wouldn't it be nice if, when it was we found out when everyone's birthday is, and on that day maybe we had cake, or, you know, we celebrated in a way to make people feel to make people feel special and to make people feel wanted and appreciated. So what you did was you went to the HR department, so that's human resources, is HR. This is human resources, and you got a list of everybody's birthdays. And you were responsible for making sure that everybody got a card on their birthday. So maybe you took charge of the situation and you decided that on everybody's birthday you would buy a card and you would take charge of this, and you would make sure everyone in the office signed the card, and that person had maybe a small gift or a cake and a card on their birthday. Okay, so you used your initiative, and it may sound like a small thing, but this thing in the office then improved team morale, and everyone was much happier, and people began to feel appreciated, and they really enjoyed it. So again, it sounds like a small thing, but if it improves how a team at work feel, and if they feel appreciated, then it's a good thing. Okay, so you say you used your initiative, you saw that nobody celebrated birthdays, so what did you do? You went to the human resources and you found out when everyone's birthday was, and then every year, every birthday, you would buy a card and maybe a cake. Maybe you organised a kitty. I don't know if you know what I mean by a kitty, where everyone, you know, puts in a bit of money and you all get a cake or a card on your birthday. And it makes people feel happy at work. And if people are happy, then they work better. So it can be something like that. Okay. So you talk about what the problem was and how you did it and what the result was. Okay. So they want you to be able to show that you can do things. We say, I don't know if you have this expression in Russia, we say to do things off your own back. Off your own back, or yeah, which basically means to do something without being asked, to use your initiative and do something without being asked. Okay. So they want you to show that you can take charge of a situation and make it better without being told. Okay. Again, does anyone have any questions at all? You're all very quiet this evening. Feel free to ask any questions. If you have questions about, I don't know, jobs in England or other types of interview questions that you're not sure about, then just feel free to say, okay? Because it's not a problem. All right, so yeah, basically all these types of questions are pretty much asking you to talk about problem solving and, you know, doing these things off your own back, and how to solve the problem without having to always ask the boss the answer, you know. So you're trying to think for yourself and do the job yourself. Okay, so I'm just going to give you an example here that I have in front of me, which is it's an example by someone called Pamela Skillings, and it says it's from an article answering behavioural interview questions. Okay, so the situation was, the problem was when she worked for sorry, my phone's doing funny things. When she worked for ABC company, they went through some company-wide layoffs. Okay, so layoffs are when people are made redundant. So they lose their job, not necessarily because they're doing a bad job, but because the company can't afford to pay all these people. So the company's doing badly, so they have to lay people off. Okay, I'll just put that on, to lay someone off. So that means to make them redundant. So basically, if you lose your job because your company's doing badly, the business is doing badly, not because you are doing badly. So the team of 5 that remained in the department had to take on duties that were left. So maybe before there were 10 people working there, and then they halved the number of people that were working there, and the people left had to do, 5 people had to do the work of 10 people. Okay, so people were overworked and they were, you know, unhappy in their jobs, and then mistakes were being made because they were tired and they had too much work to do, so they couldn't do their job properly. And this lady says, as the manager, it was my job to get the performance back on track. So when we say back on track, we mean like, so it's going well again, so it's good again. So when you say on track, it means everything's going well and in the, you know, the right direction. So they'd had a terrible time, lots of people lost their jobs, and then the people that were left had too much work, and then they couldn't do the work properly, so things were being done badly. So she had to try and get her team working well again and encourage them to do their jobs and help them to do their jobs properly. Okay, so then we have the next bit, which is the approach that she took, or the action that she took. So she scheduled a meeting with the whole team to discuss what they should do, so that they were all talking about it together. And then she told them how much she appreciated them for their hard work, and understood how difficult it was. So she said, you know, you're doing really well, I appreciate what you're doing, and I understand it's difficult. And then she asked the people she was working with to help her come up with a solution. And so they brainstormed. Do you know, to brainstorm is like to put lots of ideas down. So when I don't know if you maybe use the same expression, to brainstorm. It's like to come up with lots of different ideas for lots of people to come up with lots of ideas. To find a solution. Okay, and they worked as a team to come up with ideas to how they thought they could make it better. And then the result of this was that her team were very positive, because she had asked for their help and not told them what to do. They felt empowered and they felt better, and they helped her make it better. They felt like they were wanted and needed. So they then came up with some good ideas. And one of them, so they had different ideas. They decided to get rid of a weekly report, which took 8 hours a week and wasn't necessary. They gave the administrative assistant a job to do, which took work away off the accounts people. And they had basically more efficient team. They came up with time-saving ideas, had a more efficient team, and they all felt a lot happier in their work. So this was the result. Okay, so basically what she's done is outlined what happened at each stage, and that is what you need to do before an interview, because somebody will ask you this question. If you're going for a job where you are taking on responsibility and you are running a team of people, or you have a lot of responsibility within the job, they want to be able to see and understand how you solve these problems. So before you go to the interview, you need to think about these types of questions. So what you have achieved within your work or within your career, so things you've achieved, and how you've achieved them, how you use your initiative at work to do things. So, you know, and this other one, you know, how you deal with difficult situations and problems. So basically you're just showing how you identify a problem, what you do about it, and then what the results you've had. So they're similar questions because they're all asking you to say, what was the problem, what did you do, and what was the result? Okay, so this is something you can plan before you go to an interview, and you can practice it, and you can record it if you want to. You know, you can practice saying it on your phone. You can sit and speak to the camera like I am, and make sure you've got your phrases correctly. You know, you can put in some language that you know you can use and you feel comfortable with, because if you leave it all to chance, then, you know, you might get to the interview and then panic and think, oh my goodness, I can't remember. Because it's always difficult to remember these things. It's difficult to remember it if you're going for an interview in your own country using your, you know, your native tongue. It's like, that's difficult. Every interviews are difficult. So if you're doing it and then having to speak in another language, it's, you know, it's quite stressful. So I would always say to think about all the questions that you could have and plan them in advance, so you have the vocabulary down and you have some useful phrases and expressions to help you. Okay, so I'm just going to recap on the ones we've done so far. We had, sorry, I put my list on the floor. Last week we were talking about your strengths and weaknesses, where you see yourself in 5 years' time, and we've also had, you know, how you've shown initiative and your achievements. So these are all things that you can plan ahead. You know, you can answer the strengths and weakness question before you go to the interview. You can have that planned ahead. You can have your one about your future plans planned ahead, and you can have the ones about initiative and things you've done at work planned ahead, because they may ask them in a slightly different way. So when we say you look up to someone, it means you admire them. Okay. So they might ask you something like this. Okay. And so this, it can be somebody, preferably somebody alive, maybe. Maybe it's somebody you've worked for. Sorry, my phone's doing the thing again. Go away. Maybe it's somebody you've worked for, or maybe it's somebody, I don't know, maybe it's somebody famous. But try and think about the values that this person has and why you look up to them. You know, so maybe it's your boss, maybe it's their work ethic or something like this. So try and have a list of why you think that is, not maybe just because they're a pop singer and they sing really good songs. Maybe not that. So maybe that relates to work, obviously. Sorry, yeah. So yeah, so something, the things that their strengths, the things that they're good at, and if that's something that you would like to achieve for yourself. So why you respect them, why you think they're very good at their job, or they have very good values, and if that's something that you would like for yourself. Okay. And another one, if money were not an issue, what would you like to do? So if money was not what would you like to do? So again, this is like we said, with the where do you see yourself, in 5 years or 10 years, and try not to say lying on a beach, you know, try and think of something a bit more productive. So yeah, so try not to say, I said, just having a permanent holiday, or, you know, sunbathing every day. Try to show that you, maybe if you're working within business, show how you would maybe want to use that money in a, you know, to create your own business or your own company. And I can't get rid of the keypad. Yeah, so you'd show your entrepreneurial skills and show that you actually are genuinely passionate about your job, and that it's something that you want to do for life, not just to earn a few pounds. So, and show that you have ideas and interests, and so that it's not just a job for you, it's something that you love and you want to do for a career. Because if they think you're just turning up and you think, oh, I'll just go along and it's, you know, it's just 9 till 5, it's 9 till 5 and I will do it, take my money and leave, they don't think that you care about the job or you have no passion or interest for what they do. So try and show that, you know, if you could do it yourself and you could run your own business, that you have ideas and you can think creatively about what you would do, and that you would be able to do it wisely and spend your money well. So again, they want people who are able to think for themselves and have good ideas and are passionate about their work. Okay, so it's another question to think about. Okay, does anyone have any questions at all? All right, I'm not sure if you do or don't. So I will leave the questions there for today. And then I think tomorrow we have, oh, check, hold on. I have a few more questions for tomorrow. So tomorrow we're going to try and do another live link, see if we can make it work this time. Hopefully the sound will be better. And also I will finish the last few interview questions. So if there's anything, oh, there's a really terrible question we're going to do tomorrow. If there's anything that you can think of that you would like to ask me tomorrow, or anything, so if it's just something that you remember you want to know the answer to, or if it's something that I've mentioned today that you weren't clear about, you didn't understand, then just put a message on Instagram, or otherwise I'll be here tomorrow at the same time, which is 7:30 in England, so 10:30 in Moscow. It's very late for you. Yeah, we will do some more on the interview questions then. Okay, so I will say have a lovely evening, and I will see you tomorrow, and let me know if you have any questions. Okay, good night.